People need hope, Hera. Something to believe in.
My first question is actually, how did you guys get involved in this project? Because this is a wildly ambitious project, but also I'm curious how you came into it.
Yeah, we came on board a little bit later than some of the core team. Philippa brought us on board, and initially it was Jason DeMarco, I think, that we had conversations with, really about coming in and looking at the story and helping to shape Héra. I think they were looking for us to really come in and see what we could do with that character in particular. And then in shaping her, obviously, has a knock-on effect on all the rest of the story. Yeah, but that was kind of the entryway in for us. I love your background, sorry, and I like that you're centered in it, so you're like, the hell in this?
I'm conveniently cutting him off. I'm curious, I am wondering why there was this desire to focus the story on Hera as opposed to the other two of Helm's sons. Was there a specific reason or a touch point that was trying to be achieved?
It was truly, genuinely driven by storytelling. If you look at the text, at what is in the appendices, it's kind of a no-brainer, really, like because we know what happens to Haleth and we know what happens to Hammer.
I mean, she's the center of the conflict.
We know what happens to Helm. We know that there is this unnamed daughter, but yeah, Tolkien, it's about her. This war is about her. So she did feel like the natural conclusion to this. So that all actually felt very organic when Philippa said, hey, and by the way, use the unnamed daughter.
So what was important for you to get right when it comes to this story? Obviously, there's a lot of Tolkien lore and there's a lot of background, so there's a lot to sort of take in. What was the sort of thing that you were like, we have to get this right? This is something that we cannot sort of budge on.
For me, it was the demise of Helm, where he ends up, was so iconic in my mind. That visual imagery, even though it was what's literally behind you, it was going to be difficult storytelling, but it was just such a striking, evocative piece of story.
How do we deliver him to that moment?
How do you deliver him to that moment? And then, funnily enough, that became some of my favorite imagery in the film. So,
and sort of working back from that and then working forward from that,
Yeah.
It's like that was the cornerstone of the story, and it's sort of how do you extend both ways?
And what for the both of you, what was it that ignited your initial love for Tolkien? I mean, Phoebe, I saw that you were a part of the Fellowship of the Ring, which is wild to me. But was it the book? Was it the movie? Was it a specific character?
For me, it was the fact that the films were shot like I could see them shooting it out my window. So it was growing up in Wellington. It was infectious, and if you sort of liked movies or television, you couldn't help but sort of be in awe of what was happening. And it was Wellington. Back then we didn't have big movies being shot, so this was a very exciting time, and the fact that it was one of the best trilogies ever made, made it that much more difficult not to be swept into it.
Yeah, I very much grew up on the film sets as well. It was funny for me because growing up, all of this stuff seemed normal, like people swinging swords and having elf ears, and like I thought that was the norm. So yeah, I sort of grew up on these sets. I do feature as a little wee chubby hobbit.
I mean, that's amazing. I would put that little screenshot up in like a framed photograph in my house. That was me, but
amazing.
Maybe
well, now I know what I'm getting it for Christmas. Thank you.
It's got to be big and like hand painted or something like that. I think that's
don't worry, we're on it.
We've got to get you in there. Were you in any of them?
Relax.
We got it.
We're doing too
There's
much.
still time to draw him into like a brief.
Well, I actually thought I was
coming,
Leaf.
guys.
I thought I was the.
It's gonna be my mission now.
I thought I was Leaf's inspiration. That's what I thought. Was sort of a lovable.
You are the next Easter egg. We're gonna embed you somewhere, and then let people figure out who it
we'll
is.
see.
There's time to draw him into the little pile behind me too. That's a good way to go. So just looking into the story a little bit, because I think it's really interesting that because the story is focused around Hera, that there isn't sort of like a push to force her into like a romantic relationship, which I feel like could have been the natural conclusion with her and Wulf. I mean, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't hate that. But I think it's nice that there wasn't this decision to make them like star-crossed lovers or like any sort of romantic tension in that way. Was that deliberate, or was that something that was just like, wasn't really consideration?
No, it was deliberate. It was kind of a device, mostly for our antagonist, for Wulf. I think he takes the rejection from Hera on to another level. It is a huge part of what's driving this obsessive nature in him that really derails him down a very dark path that he cannot kind of bring himself back from. So it was quite important in that regard.
I mean, not only speaks to the rejection of him, but also speaks to the rejection of his people by the Rohirrim.
From Helm also, and, yeah. That's interesting, yeah.
Would you say that he had like romantic feelings for her, or was it more just like a pride thing?
No, I think we towed this line of, yes, it's his father pushing him to do this initially, but we actually wanted to show underneath that they had a genuine friendship and relationship. That's where you get the scenes of them as children, mirroring scenes of them later. That he, in
friendship in
possibly
Heda's eyes.
led, but he did have, I think, genuine feelings for her, but she couldn't return them.
Was genuine as someone like that could, I guess.
I mean, he had a tough childhood, I would say. Maybe there's some justifications for it, but I'm not going to make them because he went down a weird path in the end.
No, but you're right. I mean, that's it. It is that balance that we had to strike where he is very justified up to a certain point.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think towards the end, it's no longer justified. I'm curious with Helm, this character who is so large in this sort of mythology in this world. He's, like, spoiler alert, Helm's Deep is named after him. What was for you important to embody when it comes to, right, like creating this character and making sure he's not too larger than life and making sure he's not too much of anything and more of a balanced character?
Yeah, because he does sort of come across as untouchable almost. But so we always saw he had this one weakness, and it was his children, especially when it comes to Hera, and it does sort of cloud his vision a little bit. And so there is a journey he has to go on with his daughter, which was very central to the storytelling, in that he actually has to find a way to step back and trust in her to make her own decisions.
So I love the idea that this sort of larger than life sort of warlord character has a crack in his armor, and it's his family. So it's kind of, what's the opposite? If he's going to have an Achilles heel, what's the most opposite sort of thing that we could give him? And the fact that it was his family made a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think it's sweet that his weakness is his daughter, which I think is like, he can't be all that if he's a girl dad, I'm curious, now that you've got this Lord of the Rings movie under your belt, which is a huge accomplishment. Congratulations on that, by the way. What for each of you is like a dream next step, like an ideal next project, or maybe just like a dream project in your mind that you were like, I need to do this?
Honestly, the one that we're about to do. We are very, very lucky in that we're about to do a project with Andy Serkis, who is directing The Hunt for Gollum, so another Lord of the Rings. And that is my next dream project. I am so excited to be doing
Getting to work
that.
with Andy is, it's he's just, I don't know, he's just got such an amazing creative spirit.
And who better, honestly, who better for a Gollum film than Gollum himself?
I mean, I can't wait to watch that. Is there progress on where you guys are in that, or?
It's progressing.
It's progressing.
It's happening.
I respect that.
We're in that of the sort of treatment phase, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I can't wait to see it, and I can't wait for people to watch this film. Thank you so much for speaking with me and being so generous.
Cool. Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Thanks so much. Bye.